Hey everybody, hope you're all good tonight. And I just thought I'd jump on because I, well, it came around. I've been producing for 25 years and I've worked with some of the best people, learned from them, learned a lot from research and learning properly when it comes to engineering. And I know when I send records for mastering, the master engineer says your mixes are some of the best that I get sometimes, which is really good. And I've learned it certain ways by other mentors and people who are also some of the best in the business, and picked up things along the way and got to where I am now. And I had a client in today, and that client said to me, they'd watched one of my videos about kicks, where how I talk about how I like sometimes the kick to be in key with the track, and um, specifically things like Afro house and stuff like that, where the the kick has got tone to it, it's got a note to it, and it can add to the melody. And I think that's true. I've got a video on it in my course where we tune the kick up and down. You can see it just feels better in key, not in the same note as the bottom of the bass, not that at all. You're asking for trouble there, but in that. And they said that they'd watched a video by another YouTuber called Be the Lick, who I had heard of, and that he said that most kicks have a dive in them, and the pitch changes. So what do I mean by that? So you've all seen me using kick three. So this is a kick and kick three, and as you can see, the pitch starts here, goes down, and keeps going down. So there's no particular pitch, but a lot of the time, sometimes, I might level out this tail. So the shorter kicks, there generally isn't any pitch. But, well, let me just show you that quickly. So with kick three, you can see here, this is in pitch. You can see the pitch, it comes down, constantly going down and changing right till the end. And it will give you a pitch depending on the length of it. So short house kicks a lot of time just have this dive. They don't have the length for the tone or of a note to come through in the kick. But it does, when you're working with melodic and you've got the kick in key and the toms are making a melody with the kick, it's super important to have it in key in those instances. And in a lot of house tracks, you don't hear the pitch on the kick. But in my experience, and this is my experience of working with an engineer years ago, and one of my ex-mentors, and I came in a couple of times with a track, and he said to me, oh, the kick and the bass hitting together sound like they're making a chord. And we changed the kick, but not a nice chord. He changed the kick and it would just sound better. So I kind of stand by that. And I think that, it depends on the kick. And at the end of the day, if it sounds right, it sounds right. Always. That's all that matters. So I just thought I'll go and check out Be the Lick's video. And I was thinking to myself, I better go and check this out because this is what I've learned through my experiences. So I went to his channel and started watching some of his videos, and they're amazing. Some of the best videos out there. And he talks common sense. And if you don't know who he is, I'm going to put a link to the two videos I'm going to talk about here in his channel. You should go and check him out. Hey, Thomas. So I went to his channel and I started watching his videos. And I watched his kick video. It's excellent. And agreed with everything that he said. Okay, but I still stand by what I said before, that sometimes a kick can sound better if it's pitched one semitone up or down, because it just sounds more musical, and with that you can change you know, the formant of the kick, and it can not sound good. And I talk about all that in all those videos. But so I went to watch, and then I started binging his videos, thinking they're really, really good. Different to me, and I really enjoyed all his videos. But then I watched a video, and he made a video, and the video is talking about 32-bit floating, and I'm not going to go into it and explain it. I'll give you a link to the video. And I watched it, and I thought, oh shit, I've got this wrong. Okay, so I've been told by somebody, and I've seen it on YouTube quite a bit, that 32-bit, if you turn the master down, you can reduce the clipping. So when I found this out a bit ago, you know, I never clip anyway, so I've had no need to kind of think about this. So when I did it, I clipped a clap in a loop and bounced it, and then brought it back in and the clip was distorting digitally. So I brought it down, sounded awful. I brought it down in the master, and the clap was still distorted. So what I did was I'd listened to all the people I've spoken to and went, ah, right, that only means with any clipping that happens on the master can be removed. And that's where I got it totally wrong. It was the other way around. So basically, if you've got like 700 dB on each channel of your faders in Ableton, okay, and everything on all these, but on the master you've not, because of 32-bit, because the master still exports at 24-bit. But we still, and you should watch the video. I'm not going to make a video about all this because this is excellent. So basically what was happening is if you clip anywhere else, you've got 700 dB. Well, you're never going to hit that, right? So if these channels are clipping here and this one's clipping, okay, if you turn and you import the file back in, whatever was clipping here is still clipping, okay? But if I turn the fader down so it's not clipping on the master, what you hear is not the sounds clipping. So the clipping isn't coming from the individual channels, okay? It's coming from the master bus clipping. So I thought, oh, this has done my head in this. I've told people this and I'm wrong. And I started questioning myself. Anyway, I had a couple of nights of sleepless nights thinking about it and thinking about making a video like this. So I've been watching a load of his videos, and I was doing the course for mixing for loudness, which I do anyway, and I achieve loud tracks, as a lot of you've seen. And I'd watched what's his name, Bathymetrics, his course. I thought it was excellent, and I already applied quite a few of them things from over the years with soft clipping and everything else, but I'd messed around with it and worked it for me because I use analog emulations. Okay, so what happened today was I found this out, and then I thought, I'm doing this loudness, clipping for loudness course, and you have to wait till the end, because it was what happened at the end that blew my mind. It wasn't learning something that blew my mind, right? So I had a client in today and I was mixing his track down. So I just thought I'd apply everything that I learned and apply what I'd learned from Be The Lick, okay? Which is, well, which I thought I'd learn, because I was a bit doubtful, to be quite honest with you, what he was saying. And because it was so ingrained into me that you can't digitally clip, right? Because it sounds awful. And I had experience of that, okay? That I always thought, well, you know something, I've got amazing plugins, I've got amazing clippers, I've got Gold Clip, expensive, you know, they're going to do the job, you know, to stop you digitally clipping. So this will have been down a rabbit hole. Okay. So what I've done today is this. I've had my client in, and if you're one of my one-to-one people, you'll know the first thing I do is strip all the plugins off or level match them and ask them what you're doing, unless the sound design. And the less plugins you can use, the less, the less muddy your mix is going to be created with the extra harmonics, with phase shifts, with too much reverb, whatever it is that you're doing. So I always teach people to start with the lead, work down, and add the plugins later. And on week 9 of my course, they have to come to me with a project with no plugins on, besides a little bit of low cut reverb, just sound shaping, no plugins at all. And it's that point when they've applied everything that I've taught them, that they have this art, that they realize it's all about sound choice. And this is the key, it's all about sample choice. Okay. So I was watching Be The Licks videos, and he talks about how when he has he's clipping, but his master's clipping by 4 or 5 dB. And I don't know him, and I'd watched his videos, but I thought, digital clipping by 4 or 5 dB? That can't be right. So I thought I'd try it myself today. Okay. So I've got this client's tracking. Let's have a listen to the track first of all. So I'm going to play it before. This is the track before. So this is the track before, and this is it after. I'm probably going to tweak it tomorrow morning with fresh ears, but there's a massive difference, and it was a mix down, and we changed a few items, we changed the kick, but can you hear they're both the same volume for mixing for loudness? I'm going to go into this in my course, but today I just want to speak about how you don't need plugins to get things loud. Really, there is a couple of tools that will help you, but I want to show you how this blew my mind. Okay, so you can hear there's a massive difference there, right? So what I was doing was I was doing it like I'd learned, clip to zero, that thing, but I wasn't putting loads of clipping on. I was doing the techniques that I do. So there's 2 clippers, one on the kick and one on the snare, and that's it. And when I came to my master bus, you look here, let's make this 0. Okay, when I came to my master bus, I'm 4.3 dB over, right? But I can't hear, it doesn't sound really, really bad. Okay, I was actually a bit more over. So what I did was put K-clip on. Okay. And this is the clipping. Okay. Okay, the mix has changed slightly, but what I did, I reduced the volume of the kick because I'm going to hear it slightly working on the kick a little bit. So I reduced the volume of the kick very, very slightly. It was about half dB. And then all I could hear was the rest of the track, and I hadn't had the vocal in at that time, but now I can listen to it. I can hear the vocal in there, so I know it's affecting the vocal. So now what I've done is I bounced it down. Okay, so I've bounced it down, I'm going to go back to -6 here. 0. So bounce it down. Okay. Click off the clipper. And then I've got this. Okay, so. So sound exactly the same. Okay. That sounds okay. Then I realized, I thought, well, there's something not quite right there. Okay. And I hadn't dithered on, because I usually dither in Ozone. Really has not dither. So then this, I rebounced it with a dither. So listen, the difference, right? Sounded much better. So dithering was super important. So I bounced it with nothing on, with it clipping, and dither on the export. So is it that? Yeah, with dither, POW R3. So I thought, I don't believe that. So I just thought to myself, right, I've got all these great plugins. Okay. I'm going to make this be able to sound better. So if I clip my master bus, and this is where my head went, with K-Clip or Gold Clip or even Ozone, I'm going to get something better. Okay. But first of all, what I did was I thought, like, what is the difference here? What is the difference between mine and the original? With it not being clipped. So what I did was I turned it down 6 dB. Okay. So there was no clipping. I exported that. And now I'm going to play the difference between it not clipping and it clipping. Okay. To see, you know, because my head's gone. It's gone like, you can't digital clip. You can't do 4 dB, right? So I turn it down so there's no clipping at all. And then reduced it with a submaster, which I do quite often anyway, like normally when I'm using analog plugins, or send it for mastering. And so I bounced it with no clipping. Okay. And now I'm going to level match it. Okay. So this is it with no clipping. This is it with clipping and dither. Rid of that. We level match that. In fact, what we have to do is we have to turn this down -6 dB here. So -6. And then 0. And then I'll level match this. Okay. Okay, so this is my mix with the clipping. And this is the mix without clipping. Okay, so let's get that to -6. Technical issues here. Should have recorded it really, but so hard recording videos. Okay, so start again. So this first one is the one that was clipping that I've turned down 6 dB. And this is the one that wasn't clipping, which was that turned down 6 dB before the master. Let's listen to the difference between the two. So you can hear there is a slight difference. For me, the vocal seems a bit more open in the one that wasn't clipping. So I might have just been doing it a little bit too much. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all these to 0. Okay. And go through the different ones so you can listen to the difference between them all. Okay. So this is the unmastered one. And then this is the K-clip one, and then this is the gold clip with no saturation on. The one above it's the gold clip with saturation. In fact, we're not going to look at that because it didn't sound the best. And then this one is with Ozone, the new Algorithm 5. So let's have a listen to them all. Can you see that the unmastered one that was clipping is better than the K-clip, the gold clip, which is $250, and Ozone? And all I've done is clipped it and bounced it down. I've then gone into it, looked at the files, because I wanted to look at it and see, like, you know, look at the file and see, is there any clipping in there? Like, what can I see? Is there any flat lines? And if you look, there's not. You know, and I was like, I don't understand it. I don't get it. So that one kind of sounds, well, it depends. It depends what you like. But this one seems to sound better, okay? Okay, so now what I'm going to do is this, okay? I'm going to listen to the unmastered version, because I think that's the best one. And again, it's just, I'm not quite sure yet. We're going to have a listen again and listen to the vocal. And then we're going to listen to in between the unmastered version and the -6 version. Okay. So we need to level match them all, obviously. So. I don't mind the clipped version. The 6 dB, the vocals seems to be a lot better, okay? And that's because the vocal is the loudest thing in the track, and that would have been hitting the limiter. But let's listen to, go between the two and listen to the difference, okay? We're going to listen to the different isolated areas. So, bottom unmastered, the second one is the -6 dB. I think there's definitely a bit more definition in the one that wasn't clipping. But I think I don't know if I prefer the one that was clipping. Okay, let's listen to the bass. Now, I definitely prefer the -6 dB one there. Okay. But, you know, can you tell the difference? Can you tell the difference? Let's listen to the low mids, which is usually where it breaks up. Again, it's a little cleaner with the one which wasn't clipped. So there is some saturation of some kind being put in there. Let's listen to the mids. Okay, so the mids are pretty good. The vocal I prefer in the one that was -6 dB. And if you look at the waveforms, you know, obviously it is denser, so it's going to sound slightly different, and it's introducing some kind of saturation or distortion, which is taken away from the cleanness of the track. Okay, this is the tops. Well, they're definitely louder, and I can hear a little something, you know, in there that's making them slightly different. They don't sound like they're overcooked. But I think I do prefer the -6 dB. Can you hear a difference there? Let's go back to the low mids. can't tell. I can't tell there. I've gone back to the original track, which is minus 6 dB, so it's exactly the same. The difference, one difference is that these have been bounced and dithered. But as far as bounce is concerned, I do prefer the minus 6 dB one, but we've got 6 dB of headroom with ours. So if we had them both at the same volume, obviously ours would be a lot louder and a lot better. But let's listen again. Now, the one thing that's concerning me here is the vocal, so we'd have to look at that. We've not finished the mix. We're going to go back to it. As you can hear, there was a lot of changes in the track. So this is really important. You know, listen to it now and you tell me which you think is the best. I would guess that it's just a little bit tubby, arguably tubbier. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through all the different versions and you tell me which you think's the best. Okay, I'm going to have to just bounce all these quickly. Okay, so for me, you can tell with the vocal, it feels a little bit more closed in with the unmastered version, okay, than the original track at minus 6 dB with no clipping. And the unmastered for me definitely sounds better than all these three. Okay, I'm going to go through and just concentrate on the vocal. Okay, mind blown. For years I've been told, you know, don't ditch the clip, don't ditch the clip. You sold all these plugins and all these great expensive things, and you know, my mind's blown. Of course, the vocal, we need to look at this for the vocal, and this was just one quick mix down today, where I applied it, and I will probably have to bring things back a little bit. I have to look at the vocal to make sure the vocal's still a bit wider and still a bit open. But the version with the clipping, obviously the clipping will have been in adding some kind of subtle harmonics changes within the track. But that's my favorite version. It might be because it's a slightly bit loud. If you look at the waveform, even though the same volume, You know, obviously the RMS is slightly bigger on that. The gold clip's got quite a bit of RMS actually. That's the one with the saturation added. But yeah, mind blown. What do you think? Yeah, Paul, what I was saying was where I got it wrong is I thought that you couldn't clip the channels like all your normal faders, but you could clip the main channel. And when you exported it as 32-bit, you could turn it down, but I was wrong. Okay. What I'm saying here is what I found out with Be The Lick's video, where I was getting it wrong, was that you can clip all the individual channels besides the master. Okay. The distortion happens at the master. So if you're clipping on your drums massively, 10 dB, and you're going into the master and that's clipping 10 dB, you've got it baked in. But if you turn down your fader 10 dB and it's not clipping digitally, you won't hear that distortion that you heard before on the drums, because the distortion isn't coming from the individual channels, it's coming from the bus. And this is something that I'd been told. So, you know, with 25 years of doing this, you learn new things all the time. I wanted to correct that. I wanted to thank Be The Lick for his great videos. I'll put a link in below. This was the this one was the one with a bit of soft clipping. When I say soft clipping, I mean a bit of it's the gold clip with a bit of the push of the gold, which is saturation. I like that one, to be quite honest with you. Let's just have a look. Let's put it all back up to 0 now and see which of these sounds the best. Because that's within it 0. Okay. I'm just going to go between the unmastered and the gold clip now. I think I prefer the unmastered version. I really do. So yes, you know, I've learned something new. And the thing is, when I talk about gain staging, which is the old school way of gain staging, it doesn't matter. What I was teaching was right if you did it, because you were never clipping. So obviously the benefits with trying to mix for loudness, as Bathymetric says, is when you start with the kick at 0 and the bass at 0 and the clap at 0, which are the 3 key points, you can hear any distortion that's coming through the master bus. No plugins. There's no plugins on there. And let's just do one last thing before we finish, because I think this is important. We've not looked at any meters. Okay, so I'll get you lean up. And let's look at the values of them all. Okay. So unmastered. -7 LUFS. K-clip. Let's go to 0. minus 7.4 LUFS. Gold clip with saturation. Minus 6.7. But remember, it doesn't sound louder than the master. Let's go between them. Actually, maybe it does. Maybe it does. I'm going to move the pint. Well, let's have a listen to the Ozone. Minus 7.1. Let's go between them and see which sounds best. I think I prefer gold clip. Now, because what we've done is we've added saturations to the whole track. And I like what it's done. I prefer the vocal in that one. So yeah, my mind was blown. Hi, Paul. Yes, I have watched the whole Bathymetrics series, but this kind of is... I've learned about clipping old school, and people would clip the clippers of the D2A converters, and sometimes they clip like hardware and get this nice tone. So I've always used clipping for loudness and saturation because it changes the perceived volume. But we haven't used any meters here. Like meters, they're irrelevant to what we're doing. The only meters we've used are the ones in the DAW to make sure that nothing was clipping. Have a quick look actually. Massively. So you can see that none of my channels are clipping. Now you say these two are clipping, yeah, because this is everything's going into the pre-master, okay, and then we've got the submaster, okay. So yes, the submaster was just so that I could turn it down 60 dB going into that, just in case I had anything on the pre-master. And of course, what I've not done here is I might put a compressor on the master bus to give the whole track a little bit of glue. Would I mix disco house like this? Might start off like that way. It's really kind of what sounds the best. And if I'm mixing to clip to 0 and it's 4 dB over on the master, but it sounds better, then I'm going to go with that, aren't I? Like, my client couldn't believe it. The difference between this at the beginning ridiculous. You know, there's a massive difference there in perceived volume, and that's what makes it for loud. It's about sample choice. But I just thought I'd share. I just thought I'd come on and do this because I got it wrong, and I wanted to put it right. That you can't clip all the channels. The only one you can really clip is your output channel, digitally. So, you know, whilst for years I've been afraid of going into the red, and I stand by that process. It's what I've learned, and it works for me. I've always ended up with tracks that are as loud as the competition. I like this process because I have been becoming more mindful of phase and adding EQs and adding plugins that create all these issues, specifically with widening tools. So I really like this process. I'm going to try and figure out how it works for me. But I thought I kind of knew most of it. And obviously it's easy. Lesson learned is don't believe what you hear people say on YouTube, you know, or, you know, hearsay. Find out for yourself and make sure that it is what it is. And it's like I said, I watched Be The Lick and I watched his video. I think he's amazing, and go and watch him. And when I applied it, I had to apply it because it just didn't make sense to my brain. Now I've applied it, I'm like, wow, this is brilliant. And the biggest thing about it that has made me go, what the actual, is that these plugins I've spent fortunes on don't sound as good as digitally clipping. I mean, I have to look into it, okay? A little bit more. But my mind's blown. What do you think? Just to let you know, I've just noticed by going A/B all the time, I think there's a little bit of a bug in Metric A/B where it kind of seems a bit brighter when you swap over straight away. So, well, that one's gone up 2.4 dB. Maybe not. So yeah. So my favorite is possibly Gold Clip. You know, with a little bit of saturation. Let me just see where that is actually. I've not tried standard clip here, which I would use, which has got the similar kind of feature. So I just pumped a bit of that in and I moved that to about there, if I remember correctly. So that was that version. And I think it definitely sounded better than the one that didn't have it. And as you can see with the LUFS, it was 6.5, but that doesn't matter. The meters don't matter. It's what it sounds like. And I'm quite sure there's some master engineer that will listen on their speakers and have a different idea. But, you know, I'm blown away. I'm blown away. Comments. Hello, Marcus from San Francisco. Paul C. Hard to hear subtleties on YouTube. It's hard to hear in the studio, and I've got my headphones on. So, Bathymetrics does a great series of videos. He does, and but I think this way is my favorite. And of course, you know, it's easy for me with 25 years experience. It's not easy. There's a lot of people who are a lot better than me, better ears, which is why I send my tracks for mastering sometimes, that can hear them subtleties or the aliasing, or, you know, decide whether, you know, the tubbiness in the mid-range that's been added, which isn't really annoying me, is better or worse. And for those of you who don't have that experience, which is why I do the Mindset for Mixing and Production course, is to try and tune you into everything, to train you to how to hear everything. And it's the hardest thing about it. But, you know, it's like I said to my client, Matt Leto, today, so DJ Leto, everything that we've taught him is about the samples that you choose and how you place them in the mix, okay? And I'm going into this in the loudness course, is the difference in samples or perceived loudness. And as you can see here, we've had the same track, all the same level, and some seem louder than others. They've all got the same parts in, you know, they're all the same level. We've just clipped them differently at the end. So there's that. Oh, just to check out Matt, because he allowed me to use his track for this. This was his track at the beginning, if you're interested in mix downs or one-to-one. them records are the same volume. They're the same volume. And that's why I'm doing the Mixing for Loudness course, to teach you what I've learned over the years to get you there. I might have to make some amendments, actually, based upon what we've learned about today. But right up until the very end, we didn't look at any meters. All we did was use our ears. And the meters and the tools may help you, you know, to get your records louder if your ears don't work brilliantly. But, you know, if you're unsure, and if I'm unsure, if I've done a track and I'm unsure, I've listened to it a million times or whatever, like we all do, I will reduce it going into the master and I'll leave a little bit of headroom. You know, I don't process on the master unless it's a DJ mix. And just there, what I've done, the whole track, I've taken off of mats, just to let you know, to review the mix. I probably took off 50 plugins. Okay. I changed the kick to one that Mike from CamelPhat gave me. It's a great kick. As you can see, it's got sound. It sounds dense. It's got a good body. All I've done on that is when it was clipping on the master and I listened with the K clip, I've just added a bit of soft clipping. I've boosted this to taste. Okay. And I really liked what it did. And then I've turned the volume down here. So it's the same perceived volume. We'll go into this in the Mixing for Loudness course. And it meant that the distortion I was hearing the K clip on the master, I couldn't hear the kick in there. Okay. And I could just hear distortion and clipping from the percussions and all the sharp things that were coming through. And that for me is something I'm going to work on, a technique I'm going to work on. It's just the first time I've done it today. So there was that. And then the snare was really loud. We wanted a loud snare. And yeah, I just clipped that to suit. And that's all that's on it. You know, there's a little bit of low cut on a couple of things just to get the rumble out of the bottom end. Not a lot. And that's all that's on his track now. So it's gone from having 50 plugins, yeah, sounding like this, sounding like this, you know, and we sound louder than his reference, you know, which is Breathe by CamelPhat. You know, Mike and Dave are two of the best producers going, and I'm quite sure they had that mastered by one of the top guys. So, you know, it's all about sample choice and only adding plugins if you really, really need to. And yeah, any questions, anyone? I'm going to put the Be the Lick videos in the description after, as soon as the video's finished. But I've just mixed this track. I'll go back to it tomorrow because I've got an ear infection. Actually, I shouldn't be doing these. So I've got the client's track, so I'll go back. I've got an ear infection, so tomorrow I'll go back and just sprayed my antibiotics in it, my nasal spray antibiotic. I will go back to this mix and I might hear something different, but I think it's one of the most interesting things that I've learned, and I had to do it myself to see it. And as you've heard, I think you'll probably agree that the unmastered version, besides the one that never clipped at all, is the best version. And just to reiterate, I don't like what it's doing to the vocal here. I will go back and look at this tomorrow. Okay. But mind blown. Yes, that's it. And it all started because what somebody told me they'd watched the Be the Lick video about kicks. And that you don't have to have the kicking key. And we ended up here. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. You know, -6 LUFS is pretty unreal. And you know, I might just, if this was my track, I would try the different kind of techniques that I've got in the different part stages of this. So like I've clicked the kick there. I look at the oscilloscopes, which is what I teach people. Look at what the loudest things, look at the sum of what them working together, and then try and saturate or clip or even limit sometimes at different stages to see if we can reduce the distortion that's being created at that point than on the master channel with that. And the answer to that I will come back to you with. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining in. Thanks everyone for watching. I just said to the missus, I said I'm going to do a live video because it was in my head. When I get something in my head, I do it. Yeah, that's it. No, there was nothing on the master and it sounded great. The unmastered version sounded as loud, if not louder, than Breathe by CamelPhat, and this version sounds louder. It doesn't matter about the numbers, it doesn't matter about the LUFS, okay? All that matters is how it sounds, and in relationship to your references and everything else. So if you want to know more about how to get music loud, please go to my course, which is on subtonemusicacademy.com. And yeah, there's that. We've got a Black Friday deal at the moment for Mixdowns, so you can buy bundles of 5 or a mentorship. So go to subtonemusicacademy.com and watch this course, which is nearly finished on mixing for loudness. And I think this video's kind of explained a lot of it. So yeah, have a great evening, everyone. Thank you for joining and thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. Did a Black Friday deal today on the website. Well, we did a Black Friday deal if you signed up for Mixdowns, and we've had a lot of sign-ups today. So I appreciate you. I know a couple of you are on now. Thank you very much, and I will see you next Tuesday.